Okay, so this is how to do the formal lab report. This is going to be, you're going to want to start this the week we do that lab, okay? You can even start it before you do the actual lab, right? There's actually some parts of it that are kind of, you have to redo work unless you just go ahead and do the literature search, for example. You're going to have to look up the chemicals, might as well do the literature search while you're at it, right? And at least start that, okay? Okay, so you're going to research and then write a formal lab report. There are guidelines here on writing a formal lab report, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it myself audibly, okay? These are just more references for you if you need them, right? And an example of what a formal lab report ultimately is meant to emulate, okay? We don't go into a full article. That would just be way too long, too much work. But ultimately, it's supposed to be like a formal lab report, okay? It's supposed to be like an article. Notice I have attached a Google Doc here. What this Google Doc should do is make separate copies for each of you, and then you would put your lab report in there, make sure it's formatted correctly, or just write from the beginning in it, okay? I need to start doing that because ChatGPT and the other AIs are so fucking good at faking it that it would take me forever to figure out if it's, well, probably not. I could probably do it pretty quick, but I just need to be sure, okay? Like, it will make website URLs for references. It will make them up. They don't exist, but it will have everything up to the last part as a website that would have that sort of material. So it's really good at faking it. It's so convincing, it's just ridiculous. Okay? But it's usually wrong. At least for science stuff. All right. You will notice here, I'm going to bring up a publication. And guess who's the author for this one? Yeah, me. So this is ultimately what a formal lab report should be like, and I'll note the differences, okay? So you'll write a formal lab report. It'll have a title. This title should be descriptive. It should tell you what this formal lab report is doing, okay? Doesn't need to be this long. This is an actual publication, right? There's more in here, okay? But it should tell you what you're doing. You're making this, you're synthesizing that, etc. You'll also want to write what experiment this is, okay? Because, you know, it's an experiment. Experiment number 45, right? Then you'll do the authors. You probably are only going to have yourself as an author, but if for whatever reason I group you guys up together, you would have a second author, right? And so you would put yourself first. You would mark yourself in some way. Notice there's little things up here, okay, footnotes. You can also just underline it, okay? And then the other person that worked with you would be the other author, right? If you want, you can list me right here. This would be the advising professor, or this would be somebody that's heavily involved in the work, okay? Technically, I would be this position, all right? Though you don't need to list me in this case. I waive my right. Okay, I don't care either way. Do what you feel comfortable with. Make sure you mark who's the corresponding primary author, okay? That would be you for your report, right? Okay. Then it will have an abstract. Abstract should only be 150 words or less, okay? They should be short. A good title, author, and abstract will require me to not read the rest of the paper at all, okay? So if I did a good job here, and I believed what's in this, I learned everything I need from this paper. I don't need to look at anything else. Okay? I'm done. Congratulations, I can go read another article. Okay? The only reason I ever read anything else in here is if there's details that I don't believe in here or I want to learn more about how you did it. Okay? The rest of the article should never need to be read unless I don't believe you. All right? So the abstract has results, has conclusions in it, small little bit. It is an abstract of the results from that article. Okay? That makes sense? Okay. What is it not? It is not the introduction, is it? It is not a history of that topic. It is not literature search that you did for that topic. It has no sources in here. Okay? It is not a full conclusion. It is not all of your results, right? This should have things like percent yield, specific bands that would prove what it is, that sort of stuff, okay? Basically for you guys, I got this product. This is the melting point and bands that show that's that product. I got this for percent yield or recovery, whatever, okay? Does that make sense? Okay. It is not every single data piece that you could have possibly generated. I got this weight, that weight, whatever. I don't care. I don't want to know that. You wasted my damn time, right? Okay. You don't need a figure in it, okay? This has a figure because this is in a major international journal. And they wanted a figure, and that's the molecule it is, with the designated assignments that show this. Okay, does anybody have any questions about the abstract? Should this be verbose? No, this should be fast to read, okay? This should be so fast to read that I can glance at it and I know everything about your paper. I'm done, okay? I should not have to read this damn article. All right? Okay. The next thing is the introduction. This is where you do the background. Like all papers, introductions and conclusions have the same form. So you take the world and you funnel it into your paper, right? So you take the history. You guys are probably going to do a history of a reaction. You'll take what is this chemical for, and you'll do some literature search. There should be references in here, right? And you can see the references in here if you look very closely. See those? Okay. And so those references should be outside material you're getting and using. You can reference your book, but you need more than your book. Okay? This is one of the spots that people screw up the most. Right? They do not research anything. They write it. There is not a single damn reference in here. And then they submit it to me. Is that a proper introduction? No. You didn't relate the world to anything, did you? You don't have any references. You don't have anything telling me what the hell's it. Anything. So, it needs to be things like the history of this reaction. It needs to be things like the history of this compound. It needs to show why you're doing this, what this is, and where the hell it came from, right? Okay. Anybody have any questions? The end of an introduction should take that history, that reason for doing things, and it should funnel it into what you actually did. Okay? So it should take, people discovered this, they do this with it, these are the previous things people have done with it, and they did not do these things, I'm doing those. Okay? That would be a publication. For you, it's going to be, these are the things they did, I am synthesizing this using a similar method as this person. Okay? That makes sense? All right. Very good. By the way, if you wonder why I'm so verbose and detailed on this, is because, I was a journal editor for a while, and I've reviewed hundreds of publications and have 30 of my own. So this is something I know very, 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 very well. Okay, so the next part of this is going to be, I know it's called experimental and theoretical methods here, but essentially this is going to be your experimental methodology. Okay? This is going to be what you physically did. All right? It will be similar to your procedure. Very similar to your book procedure, but it will be much abbreviated in your own words. Okay? I do not want to know I got a pipette to put 10 drops in this. Do I need to be told you got a pipette to drop? No. What a waste of time, right? You know, I put 10 drops of this in here, 1 point something, milligrams, whatever, right? I let them react for 10 minutes. Do I need to know that you used a, funnel here and a distillation column there and all that? No. Just, I reacted them for 10 minutes on, 110 degrees. Okay? I don't need to know I used an air condenser with it. I don't care. I can figure this stuff out. I don't need you to tell me. Right? You're just wasting my time. And chemists have things to do. We're not like those history and English majors. We have shit to do, right? So don't waste my damn time with verbose 10-page reports. Right? Get to the point. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that? We're clear it's not a procedure, right? Okay. Don't copy that and then, 5 pages later I finished. Okay. The next part is going to be results. There are a lot of results in this, so they're subdivided into different sections because this is an actual publication, right? But you're going to have one results section and followed by a calculation section, okay? Those can be kind of mixed together. In which order you put it kind of depends. But typically you would put it in results then calculations, okay? Your results are going to have things like a picture of your spectrum, okay? It's going to have things like the weights you weighed. It's going to have things like these are the bands that showed up in my spectra, my melting point range, that sort of stuff. What does it not have? Does it have I got the product? No, you don't know if you got the product at this point, right? You know you got a melting point and some bands. You have no idea what that is. Okay? Think of it like this. Have you guys seen trials like on TV? There's the part where they submit the evidence. And so this is the evidence, this is the witnesses, etc. The discovery phase, right? And then there's the part where they use that to build a case and to prove something, right? It's like that. Results, you build up the evidence you're going to use. Okay? And so you're submitting all your evidence to the person. Okay? And then in conclusion and discussion, that's where you're going to go into what you think happened because of that. You're going to build that case using the results and say what you believe you got. Okay? Okay. So you give your results, you do your calculation section, which shows me how you manipulated those results, right? For example, you're probably going to do some sort of percent yield or something, okay? And then you're going to do a conclusion, then a discussion, okay? A conclusion is going to be, I believe I got the proper product, or I believe I did not get the proper product, whichever, I don't really care. All I care is you do a good job of just, concluding, okay? Do the conclusion that the results support. So let's say I did not get the product, just for an example, okay? Okay, so I believe I did not get the product I was supposed to get. I believe this because I got a melting point of this. The literature value for the product I was supposed to get is this. They do not match. I got this spectra and with these peaks in it. These peaks are CH peaks. They match the product I should have gotten. However, I also have these peaks. This is an OH peak here. This is a CL peak here. Okay? They do not match the product I was supposed to get. So I did not get the product, right? And I've proved it with some cases, and congratulations. Now, if you want to be really professional about this, I don't go into that depth when I grade you guys, because I'm just trying to get you in the form of it. But you actually should never come to a result. You should never have a conclusion that proves something. Your conclusion can only ever disprove. Okay? So you either disprove or do not disprove. Okay? So in conclusion, I have shown that I do not have just the product that I was supposed to get in this sample, but I can't say I do not have that product in that sample unless I don't have any of the peaks that are supposed to be there, okay? Does that make sense? Okay. That would actually be the proper way to do it. You can't conclude something, you can't build up a case and then say that's what I have. What you can do is build up a case that you do not have something. All right? You can't prove things, you can only disprove. Okay. That's how science works. All right, so I have my conclusion now. This is one of the places that people have a lot of difficulties with, is the difference between conclusion and discussion. Okay? So conclusion, I conclude something about my results, I support it with my results, I build a case, that's it. Okay? And then I make a concluding statement. For you guys, it'd be something like, I have the product or I do not, right? Okay, that makes sense? And that's based on these points. Okay. Your discussion is going to be discussing the conclusion you came up with, and what might be strengths or weaknesses of it, and what you might want to do in the future. Okay? So for example, one of the most common discussions that are in like physics papers and a lot of chemistry papers, they're on the cutting edge, is we got these results, they do not agree with anything that's been published in previous works, we are not exactly sure what they indicate. So if you have an idea of possible continuances or other things we can try, contact the author. I'm not joking. It's a very common discussion. It's a good discussion. Okay? Yours probably is going to be something like, this part of the lab did not work very well. I would recommend this difference. Okay? If you do it in the future, you also might want to put in things like, for example, this paper, if I remember correctly, this is a series. So I have 4 membered rings that have different functional groups on them. And we're testing these different functional groups to see what they do to the ring. Okay? And so part of this paper is like, these are the functional groups we want to try testing, and will a later date indicate how that changes the ring. Okay? And it's like plans based on this, what you can expect coming up. Literally, it's a discussion of the paper, right? Notice that none of the names were different than what they are, right? They're all exactly what they are. Okay? Discussion, you discuss the paper. Conclusion, you conclude the paper. Results, the results you got in the experiment, aren't they? Experiment, it's what you did for the experiment. It is very straightforward. Do not forget that you should put most of your figures should be introduced in results. Those would be things like data tables. Those would be things like your weights. Those would be things like your spectra. I took my spectra, here it is. So the 2 places you typically introduce your evidence is experiment. I took my spectra on the infrared spectrometer. Here's my spectra. Okay? And then your assignments would be in results. And then your conclusion would be what you conclude from that. That makes sense? Okay. Okay. Let me make sure I didn't forget anything. Notice there are a shit ton of results in this. So many results. It's a fairly long paper. So I just figured I wanted you to see what it looks like if you do an actual article. Okay? It's basically like the lab report you're doing, but just has a longer middle, right? Okay. Associated content, you guys won't need to do this, but if you have a lot of stuff, a lot of material, and you can't fit it in the article, it would go under associated content. Okay? And then you'd provide like links to it and stuff. This is where you could get that. Okay? This is author information so they can find you and communicate you. Acknowledgements, if you need it, you guys don't have that. Okay? You don't need it. It's fine. Here's the references. You should do a reference style that's similar to this. I have actually linked the PDF where it shows you exactly how to do this reference style. Okay. An interesting side note is this is something ChatGTP is pretty good at. So you could literally give it a references that you haven't formatted, just paste them in and tell it to format it in this style. You do it. Okay? I'm so jealous. You have no idea how long it took me to do that for my dissertation. It was weeks of 14-hour days. Because it had thousands of references. Anyways, I have a 700-page dissertation. 678-page, dissertation. Yeah, it's long. All right. Does anybody have any questions? Notice these numbers are the ones you quoted in the beginning. Okay. No questions at all? Right. Don't forget, you are going to submit that to that right there. So then I can have my plagiarism check it, make sure you didn't copy from other people. Okay? Or copy from ChatGTP, I guess. All right. No questions at all? You all have a wonderful day. Don't forget,